Crystal Saunders was 24 years old when her body was discovered in a water-filled ditch in St. Ambrose, Manitoba. That was April 19, 2007.
The Métis woman was last seen getting into a vehicle here in Winnipeg's West End the day before. Those details and more were revealed in search warrant documents obtained by CBC News. In them, RCMP say Saunders had been strangled to death and DNA was found on her neck. At the time, police entered a sample in the National DNA database, but no matches were found. That is, until 2014.
That's when Kevin Q, a Manitoba man who had been living in Vancouver, was being investigated for sexually assaulting and choking two women in British Columbia. The search warrant documents say there was DNA on her body from both Q and others, but RCMP believed Q was her killer.
So they devised a plan for what's known as a Mr. Big operation into the MMIWG cold case. For 7 months, undercover RCMP officers befriended Q and created scenarios to try to get him to talk about Saunders' death and his potential involvement in it.
Over time, it is expected that this bond will become strong and trusted enough that Kevin will discuss his past criminality, including the offense presently under investigation, wrote an RCMP corporal in a January 2024 police affidavit. Retired Winnipeg Police Detective Sergeant John O'Donovan is very familiar with Mr. Big investigations. He says investigators likely decided to launch a sting operation because they knew DNA evidence might not be enough.
It brings you up to 90%, but you need that 10% because in order to get a conviction in criminal court, it has to be beyond a reasonable doubt. They need some kind of a confession to nail it to the wall.
While police believed Q was Saunders' killer, it took time before they launched their undercover investigation.
Q was sentenced to 5 years in prison for sexual assault and assault. Then the pandemic hit, so RCMP didn't put their plan into action until 2023.
In June 2023, the undercover officers met Q at a pub he hangs out at, and they hit it off. Q invited them out on his boat the next day, and according to search warrant documents, they got very close. Over the next several months, they went on double dates together, skydiving, and Q even shared his NHL hockey tickets with his new friends. Over time, he got comfortable enough to confess he'd laundered money. In mid-December 2023, undercover officers staged what looked like something violent had happened in a hotel room. According to the search warrant documents, while having supper with the group, Kevin was laughing to himself. The undercover officer asked what he was laughing about, and Kevin said that he was thinking about how they had helped clean up what seemed like a murder. O'Donovan was impressed to read in the search warrants that Q told one of the officers that he loves him, and that's why he helps the group out.
For an undercover officer to come out and have some guy say, some murder suspect say, he's my best friend and I would do anything for him. That is like an amazing piece of work that these guys have done.
The search warrants don't say if police got a confession in the end. All we know is that Q was charged with second-degree murder in January 2024. His trial is scheduled to start in September. Caroline Bargood, CBC News, Winnipeg.